Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to open the public hearing on 490 Sagaponic LLC, 490 Saginaw Street. I'm going to start with the architect's representation. Sure, to present.
Chairwoman Odekirk and members of the board. My name is Nilay Oza. I represent Michael and Heather Nardi for their property on 490 Sag Main Street. I'm with the firm Oza Studio Architects. I know you are aware of the broader context of this project, but since this is an advertised public hearing, please bear with me as I introduce the project in its entirety. Is it online or can we share? Thank you. As you are more aware than most, Sagaponic does not have a single architectural style. At one end, it retains the traces of its agrarian past, homesteads, barns, and utility structures shaped by function and time. On the other hand, it has some classic examples of late 20th century modernism. Between these two poles lies a broad stylistic and historical range, anchoring much of the village's recognizable streetscape. So on the right-hand side, those cones you see are essentially the views you will see in the forthcoming slides. And this is the streetscape we are representing. The house we're discussing today is located behind one such streetscape. This by no means implies the house does not need to respond to the street. It is more a question of what architectural form this response takes. Next slide, please. But before getting into the house we will be discussing today, I'd like to explain the broader context of what my clients, Michael and Heather Nardi, are trying to do here. As part of their larger vision, they have acquired 650 feet of frontage on Sag Main, including the historic Sea Breeze Inn and the Roger Polimas house, located at 500 and 468 Sag Main. So let me explain what you're seeing here. The upper row is the existing wintertime view from those view cones, and the lower section is the proposed view. So on the bottom left-hand side, you can see the house we're proposing in the background. You could proceed to the next slide, please. The image on the left side, both top and bottom, represent the Sea Breeze Inn. This is a historic structure from the 19th century, and this is one of the structures that will be restored to its 1800s glory, the 19th century glory. In addition to restoring both the Roger Polimas house and the Sea Breeze Inn, so if you go to the next slide, on the left-hand side, bottom and right, that's the Roger Polimas house. In addition to restoring these structures, the intention is to periodically introduce view corridors. That's what you're seeing on the bottom right-hand side and the left-hand side, and actually in the previous slide as well. This allows the public to get a sense of the agricultural lands beyond. While they're intentionally restoring and opening the street-facing side, they're also supporting a 16-acre working farm on the rear of their property. Balsam Farms is currently farming it, and the plan is to have them continue doing so in a more formal fashion in the years to come. Next slide, please. This is a view of the house in the summer with full foliage on top, and one with all the foliage removed as requested by the board. So this is actually a replica of the first image you saw, just showing you what the house looks like without any foliage. Next slide, please. The structure we're discussing today, Michael and Heather's home, sits in the middle between the street and the farm. It is on a 2.4-acre flag lot set back about 300 feet from the road, overlooking this farm. It is the home Michael and Heather are making for their young family, the building of which makes these other two projects possible. The neighboring homes to the southwest, west, and northwest on the far side of the Ag Reserve are all an average of about 850 feet away. Last month, we put stakes at these locations, so all the cones you see there, and placed placards with the very views you'll be seeing shortly that look back at the house from these locations. A few of the board members did walk this perimeter with us, in addition to seeing the house staked in its actual locations. Thank you for that. We'll be going clockwise from left to right. So that's pretty much looking at the house. Please, again, so moving a little bit further north, almost due north now. Now, the Sagaponack Historic District excludes flag lots, while including some agricultural lands as they are, quote, exemplary of the historic rural setting of the hamlet and evocative of the agricultural development of the region. I bring this up not to contest our designation, but to underscore a recognition in this document of an urbane, street-facing side, and that's the side we saw the streetscape on, and a more agrarian, farm-facing side in Sagaponack's development that we've seen here. Following this rationale, we see this home as more off the farm than off the street, and this is a conviction we have expressed since our first presentation back in May. The red rectangle in this and the next slide is a visual guide. It shows you the position in the physical model that you requested. Sag Main in this red rectangle is at the base of the model, and the Ag Reserve upon which the house sits is just outside the frame. Next slide, please. So again, the same red rectangle situating Sag Main at the base. The house that you see in the foreground is the Sea Breeze Inn, and the house that we're designing for Michael and Heather is at the back. Now we can focus on the house. Next slide, please. Over the intervening sessions between May and now, while accepting this premise, you, the board, have pushed us to pare down elements that do not contribute to this historic agrarian character. Looking back at our original proposal, your suggestions have certainly worked towards this end. We will be seeing views of the proposed house next. We will be going clockwise from the eastern elevation, so that's the view at the bottom, to the south, and then to the west and the north. As per your request, all these views show the house in full foliage. This is this one, no foliage, this one, and wintertime night view, next one. So each of the four cardinal views in three separate settings. So if you go back to the previous slide, please. In our last session on November 24th, you challenged us to pare down the street-facing side further. The flat roof sections in front of the house were removed. While these flat roofs were an integral part of the original design, the shed roofs that replaced them, per Mr. Woods' suggestion, it cannot be argued are a more faithful expression of this agrarian vernacular we are after. Next slide, please. With the flat roof gone, shingles have now replaced, actually you can keep 2 slides before. Shingles have now replaced all vertical siding on the lower level. We are bringing some of the character of the ag-facing side into this elevation. As you suggested at your last meeting, this is done by introducing vertical and horizontal trim boards alongside the shingles to break the resulting scale. The next slide will be helpful to see this. So it's very hard to see, but there are these vertical trim boards that break up the sort of sheer flanks of siding and shingles that you see here. We've also further reduced the glazing on the street-facing side. All windows, other than those in the entrance area and stair, have been removed. The resulting large flanks of clear siding enhance the affinity this house shares with other agrarian structures, which often feature sheer flanks of siding interrupted by few similarly scaled doors and openings. Go to the next one. Yeah. So this is the south. As requested by the board, we developed an exterior lighting plan which these nighttime views show. So you can see the next one. So this is without foliage, and this one. So you'll see a lighting plan along with the landscape plan, and these views intend to emulate what that looks like. We keep going. This is the western view. This view faces the Ahrb Reserve. We worked on reducing the glazing significantly on this side, from 52% in our original design to 25% in this version. We also introduced divided lights. These were originally large panes of sheer glass. Now to the north side, please. That's the night view. Yeah. Originally, the lower level in the entire design was stone. It was later changed to vertical boards, and now to a very simple shingle siding with wide trim boards. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the trim board sort of stitching the large planes of shingle siding. We developed a physical mock-up of this installation that you will see on the last page. This page represents the architectural inspirations that shaped the design you just saw. This inspiration came to us from a building just across the street, which is on the middle road to the left, to other locations in Sagaponack and beyond. As I hope you can see, our design borrows from this local vernacular to assimilate into its environment. Barns, sheds, and agricultural buildings. These are typically additive and plain. They grow over time, often beginning with a simple gable and expanding with lean-tos or wings. The classic gable with a lean-to, its form and proportion defined by need, is one archetype we work with, so the middle view in this page. So now we can go to the plans. To conclude, starting with the landscape plan prepared by Thorpe Heimbach Landscape Architects. So this shows you kind of the landscape intention, which is also reflected in the model that you're seeing in front of you. Also shows some lighting options here, which you saw in the renderings. Next page, please. This is the roof lines. From top to bottom, sort of explains to you the shape of the roof. Next page, please. This is the second floor plan. This shows the designed second floor, which accounts for approximately 40% of the total 7,700 square foot area. The smaller second floor footprint allows for a stepped profile and a relatively smaller mass on the upper level, which incidentally is what is predominantly visible from the street. That's the first floor plan. That's the basement plan. That's the glazing. So here, as I mentioned to you on the east-facing side, we did some work and further reduced the glazing percentage. It was 21.5%, and the east-facing elevation is now 18.2%. The south is 22.8%, the west is 25%, and the north is 17.1%. The next page is the material palette, and the final page is the mock-up, as we talked about earlier. If you could go to page 25, so you can see the shape that word. Yeah, thank you. In conclusion, we aim to contribute to Sagaponack's historical legacy with a home that belongs here, not by replication, but by resonance. This approach also aligns with who our clients are, folks who grew up here and want to savor its history while celebrating its agrarian roots. Thank you for your time and your patience. Any 30 questions?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Malek, for your presentation. Very thoughtful. And thank you also for filling our requests from last month. I'd like to open it now to the public for commentary. Go through the sign-up sheet order. I believe Lisa Thayer is on there. I have the sign-up sheet. Do you have the
sign sheet is on the table back there.
Lisa Duryea Fair, like to come and speak.
Hi, if you don't mind. Before I get started, Abby, Pat, can you bring up the slide? It was 13 something or other. It showed the night view of one of the sides of the house. It went by fast, so I'm sorry I didn't write it down. That's it. That section, okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm Lisa Duryea Fair, and I really appreciate speaking. I'm going to give you a brief amount of history of my life. I live at 167 Gibson Lane. I live at a piece of property that my family has had someone in our family at since 1880. And my experience at SAG board is 17 years of working as village trustee on the architecture board, deputy mayor, as well as monitoring the architecture board and the zoning board during that time period. And only our esteemed mayor over there could top me in years of service to our board. So anyway, that's where I come from. On 11/24/25, the architecture board heard from the owner, Mr. Nardi, that the plan was to develop the property for the greater good of the community. Well, I feel as a community member, I could point out some things that I feel that would help all of us from my experience and hopefully bring this project to a better place. My concern is not only the design, but my concern is the light and the glazing. My experience has shown me that there is no way a computer generated, the slide on the left, slide is going to accurately show you what the light looks like at night. I will give you an example. If you stand on Gibson Lane or you stand down on the beach, when people have their full lights up in modern houses, more modern houses that have these larger windows, you will see that they don't look like what the computer generated model looked like presented to our good board. And an example of that is a piece of property on Sand Dune Court that's not quite done yet, but it is at least a mile from my house. And you know, SAG is flat. It is glaring at night. And I realize it is construction lights now and we have short days, but I don't assume it will look anything like what I originally saw or the board saw when it was presented. So I think thinking of our wonderful agricultural land and the beautiful architecture in SAG, I would like to challenge the team and Mr. Nardi to come back with something that's going to actually work in this community. That house will be seen for a mile each direction because of the way the field is. And you can't really always count on planting to hide things because planting varies. Hedges get thinner, trees fall down, a variety of things happen. We have jokes going with my grandchildren that they look out and see some houses at night and they tell me they look like a space vehicle has landed in the field because of the brightness and the size of the windows. So I would like to challenge the intelligent group of people working on this project to redesign and to accurately give us some kind of presentation that shows how it's going to look at night. That is not how it's going to look. I guarantee you from my experience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And Dee Foster.
Morning, all of you. Thank you for welcoming us to consider this project well in advance of it being built. I would like to speak to birds, actually, but the dynamics of what Lisa has now entered into the record, I would agree with. And I would like it to be an intensified discussion. There is too much glazing on this house. And actually, as I looked at particularly on the north side, what I'd like you to do is give me the additional, perhaps you can just tell me the statistics for the glazing on the west, actually those three facades.
So this one is 17.
This would be this, okay?
North is 17,
Yeah.
And west?
west is 25, south is 22.8.
Right. Birds don't know that, but I know that. And unless you people have picked up a little sweet thing, still warm. I think the fact too that this particular structure is looking out over a farm field. The vernacular that you use, I can understand. But coming from a farming family, I know that those farm fields support wildlife. And I would like you to take that very, very seriously. Thank you very much.
So much. Henry Weisberg. Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon. So I'm Henry Weisberg. I live at 521 Sad Main, so I have a dead-on view of this house, unobstructed by what we always called in my family the Polish farm, the Stepankowski property. We call it the Seabreeze Inn, and unobstructed by the properties around the store. So I have a dead-on view from my street level, from my second story, and so I will see this house. It is, as been noted, it's in the very heart of the Sagaponack Historic District, and it's also a part of or adjacent to what's supposed to be a 15-acre agricultural reserve. And I note that and I don't know if anybody's going to speak to this, there's some question about whether those 15 acres are still properly devoted to agriculture. One historic note, is when we moved, I've lived in my house since 1992. When we moved in, the field was open. There was a very low fence. There was no hedge. The current owner, the seller to Mr. Nardi, has installed that white fence and a very poorly maintained, very sloppy hedge, which has completely obstructed the view that I think the village is entitled to have, and that Mr. Nardi appears to be restoring. I have no objection to a house being built here. Obviously, that's the owner's right, but it needs to be visually consistent with the rest of the streetscape. And Sagaponack, as small as it is, has multiple different architectural regions, and we don't need to talk about the other ones. We're talking about Sag Main Street between Hedges and Sagaponack Road. And we're going to see it's very definitive. I'm also not particularly, and I hope I'm not coming across as selfish, I don't care too much about other than the light point, which is very important. I don't really care about the west facade, the north facade, or the south facade. I'm only interested in the east facade and what I will see, and what those, with the revived store, there's a lot of foot traffic now, what those people will see as they walk by this spot. And as again, I said, I don't have an overall objection, but I have two very specific objections to the east facing aspect of the house. First, the garage and its associated mammoth parking lot, and the facade of the house on the east side. As to the garage, and as you can see there, it's very large. It's in all the filings, I still haven't been able to figure out precise dimensions, but it looks to me it's about 40% as wide as the house. It's got these very large double doors. Those aren't ordinary, as you can see from the car that's helpfully been placed there. These doors are larger than conventional garage doors, and the doors are street facing. And my guess is this garage structure is something like 35 by 25, quite a large building. If you go to the next slide, and who's controlling the slides?
Me.
Can you? Yeah, okay. Can you just make get rid of those little panels on the side? If you go to slide view, you can do it. See slide view on the top?
Oh, yeah, got it.
Okay, and then you go to the left, down to the left, and it goes slideshow. Maybe people will be able to see it. There's if you go to slideshow, and you go from that, click on that. Okay. Different seaside community. If I can approach this. One thing that is visible here is the garage actually projects out in front of the house. It's closest to the street. I mean, it seems a very weird design, but, and again, it's hard to tell, but it looks like it's 10 or 15 feet in front of the house, closer to the street. It's as if it's the primary structure in this property, yes. It's in front of the house. Second, if you go to the next slide, and this is somehow or other, for some reason I received this in the mail from Mr. Nardi's lawyer, and this is the actual survey of the property. And what I've done, those colors are mine. The blue is the garage, and the yellow is the parking lot. And it looks to me, again, it's hard to measure precisely. It looks like it will accommodate something like 10 to 12 cars in that open area. It is immense, and it's virtually as wide as the entire structure. And so we have this, what the streets will see is the garage, and at street level, you can't necessarily see the gravel, but you'll see cars that are parked there. So again, we have an automotive presentation, and I'll get back to that because we've recently been through that exact problem. Secondly, if you go back to the very first slide, my opening slide, and I've heard the comments about windows, and again, we're very sensitive to light, but this east-facing side is a relatively unwindowed structure. You've got some windows in the middle, which are set way back, and otherwise no windows, which to me suggests that the designer wants to protect the tenants from looking at all those cars. That, they look at the field in the back, and whatever they see in the north and the south, and they're isolated, they're protected from the parking lot. And I don't think that's an appropriate structure. So now we've looked at the house. Now we should look at the surrounding community. What else is there? And I've taken pictures of every house with a garage between Sagaponic Road and, is it Hedges? And no, if you go back, please go back one. Yeah. So this belongs to Mr. Nardi. This is the so-called Polimas, what we always call the Polimas house. I think that was Mr. Nardi's cellar. So it's 468 Sag Main. And again, what you see, and this is very characteristic, a narrow driveway taking you back to a garage which is behind the house. Generally, there are some exceptions, but generally with garage doors that are either north facing or south facing and not facing the street. So the passerby is not staring into a garage. And so that's one house. The next house is 473 Sagamane, which is the oldest house, one of the oldest houses in Sagaponack. I think it's a, early 18th century house. And again, there's here that it's street facing doors, but there's a garage building, but it's set way back. And it's not something that you would immediately see as you walk by. Now, an important structure, 493 Sagamane, the next one. So this is the new house, which I think it was maybe October last year, when there were substantial hearings about this house. And a little bit hard to see, but the garage for this house is right here. So it's set in the back of the building with a north-facing entrance. You'll recall, if you go to the next slide, substantial controversy. This is the rejected plan that this board rejected for that house, and it was rejected for multiple reasons. But one of the primary ones was the fact that the garage was the front of the house. It was closest to the street. So you can see it there with a south-facing doorway, plus the huge parking lot that accompanied it. And that was one of the reasons, as I recall, that this proposal was rejected. Then we have the Lockhart House, 509. Again, the garage building set way back. This one has street-facing doors, although they're quite attractive. With those mullioned doors. But again, a narrow driveway with a deeply set garage. 521, the next one, is my house. Again, narrow driveway, garage building way at the back with north-facing doors. Next one, 535. This is Amy Sullivan's house. Again, you can't really see the garage, but same thing. Narrow driveway, turning into a garage at the back of the property, not in the front. Finally, the complex that is today the store. The building on the right, which is 542, which is I think it was a Halsey property before Hildreth, sorry, one of those agents. Again, same thing, garage at the back with a south-facing entryway. And the store didn't really have a garage, although the Red Barn is obviously associated with it in the back of the property. Nothing, and that's the end of the inventory of buildings. 500, which we've talked about, isn't in here, just doesn't have a garage.
Henry, the addresses are wrong. 542 is the store, 534 is the house next door.
Okay.
Just for the record.
Thank you. But nobody's confused about what these buildings are.
Yes.
So again, there's nothing equivalent to what's being proposed. With a garage out front, with the street facing doors, and it's what I consider its excessive size. And so I think that this board should require that building be simply moved elsewhere on the property. And it's a large property. There are plenty of other places to do it. I'm sure that would be disruptive of, some of these, of some of the drawings, because, I don't know how the house is arranged in terms of where you come in from the garage, but I think that building should be moved elsewhere. Okay, second point, go to the final slide, which you've seen before. I I think that the house itself, as this is my guess, but the house itself, I think, is designed on the basis that all those cars will be there. And it turns its back, as I see it, to the street. You have this deeply set of windows, and you have these two shed-like structures, which to me are reminiscent of the barns we see around town, where you can tell the barn was built as a sheer sided building and lean-tos were added later. These look like after added lean-tos. And I think to the extent we can suggest what should be there, I think those lean-tos should be gone. I think there should be more conventional window arrangements, elimination of the parking lot, and then what we see from the street would be more reminiscent of what we see in the historic district. I'm happy to answer any questions, but.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Appreciate it. Mary Lee Foster.
Good afternoon, Mary Lee Foster. I live at 730 Sac Main Street. I farm one of the adjacent ag reserves to this house. I'm pretty familiar with the location. But actually, I'm taking this opportunity to address the Architectural and Historic Review Board as opposed to this application in particular. But timing being everything, this application kind of speaks to this much larger, very problematic situation going on. Probably throughout the country, though it's probably isolated to some degree to the coasts. This is a piece that I published in the Southampton Presses. Some of you know I've written for the paper for 27 years, largely chronicling the experience of the small town of Sagaponack as it transitions from an agricultural powerhouse to a luxury lifestyle holdout. Congratulations on your new windows. They certainly are big. They certainly are see-through. You must be thrilled with the way they removed even more of that wall and replaced it with glass. It must make it easier to see what's going on in your house even when the internet is down. And security is everything, which explains the windows. Nothing will make you feel more secure than imagining yourself looking over the rear yard setback from these massive sheets of structural glass. Staring at the wall has well-known deleterious impact, and windows the size of movie screens are the bold rejection of architectural convention and mind control. These windows say hell no to the notion of a home protecting you, providing you with privacy. What you've got instead is a glinting tribute to the greater implacability of your individual security. Every window, except maybe those stained glass jobbies so popular with houses of worship, has the distinction of killing the occasional bird. Birds, as we all know, have very small brains, even smaller than our own are becoming. And while some birds have learned that all sorts of adaptive behavior can help, glass presents them with an intellectual barrier they cannot exceed. Nor are they, like women, large enough to break it without being mortally wounded. Turkeys appear to be the only exception, so if you're building near a flock of turkeys, you may want to consider netting. At any rate, back to things with small brains. You know because of your work in risk assessment that thinking small is as dangerous as staring at that aforementioned wall. In fact, it is metaphorically the same thing. Birds, as glass shows us, are small thinkers, and they, unlike women, cannot see the invisible wall in front of them. Besides, they carry flu. Those wild ones help send up the cost of eggs. Better to get rid of them. Congratulations on your new windows. Congratulations on doing your part. So that I wrote a couple weeks ago before I had seen plans for this house, and actually this house isn't as bad as many. But those corridors, if you go through, where you see windows that literally face each other with about a 10-foot separation. I'll read a quick statistic here. Glass kills up to 1 billion birds a year in the United States alone, with migratory songbird species like the brown creeper and ovenbird suffering some of the worst casualties. As more people and businesses consider ways to build their buildings bird-friendly, it is important to be clear-eyed about this and the way to make these efforts as cost-effective as possible. This article, which I'm glad to leave for you, goes on to point out because the best way to do it is to plan from the start. And that's why I want these committee to think about birds as you see these houses, because we actually don't know what the world looks like without birds. We can say they're beautiful. We don't like to pick up their fluffy, warm bodies, but chances are they do a lot greater to sustain this planet as we know it. And it would be a small measure on our part in this village that has been so we thought of small houses. So I think this village could be at the forefront of some of this planning that nobody is actually enforcing. And that's one of the reasons glass companies and architects alike will say to you, nobody's asking for it. The market is what makes these things happen. And I think Sagaponack has the opportunity to make themselves ground zero for that marketplace. Let's see if there's anything else in here. That's it. It's a conservation crisis.
Could I have your?
You may have it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak? Otherwise, we'll move to the Zoom guests for their comments. And I don't know how the order goes for Zoom.
Would anybody who's on Zoom like to speak about this application?
I would. If
Introduce yourself, please.
Gary Sherman, I live over on 639 Sagaponack Road. If you could you go to the landscape plan? Okay.
This one, Gary?
The Yeah, it doesn't. This one unfortunately doesn't show it's all the neighboring properties. But I did look at this on Google Earth, and I saw that my concern really not so much with the house. I don't know how much light, is going to come out of that at night. I'm assuming it's not. And I wasn't at prior meetings, so I don't want to pass judgment on. I'm assuming that the light has been cut back significantly. My concern is really, using the ag reserve to bring headlights in, to bring like that. I've lived in this house for over about 30 years, and it's always been a peaceful, no light on the field, except I've had some problems with there's a big house down on right directly opposite this house, to the west, where they shine their spotlight, right into our bedroom windows. And I've had to go over there sometimes and we, just can't sleep. So I have the same concern here. It's as if, I don't know how many cars are going to be coming in there at night, in and out. And it's especially leaving the property. Does that driveway have to go like that? Because it's using the farm. When I bought my property, I assumed it was an ag reserve, and it would not be used as other than farm vehicles. And I'm just wondering if what I'm concerned about is the cars coming in and going out, and how many there's going to be, which we'd have no control over, and then being woken up at night with constant headlights and I'm not the only house that would be affected by that, because the way this sweeps into the field, and I see that the way the house was the subdivision was created with the flag lot, there was provision made for the driveway. And it's using the property next door. I understand that they bought the Polimas house, so they're able to do that without objection. But and I don't know whether or not the Architecture Review Board has jurisdiction over light pollution or light emanation from the direction of the driveway, and there's no screening whatsoever. And there probably isn't any way to enforce it, even if they did have screening. What would happen if they removed them, later on?
That's an excellent point. Thank you so much. I think Mary Lee wanted to comment.
I wasn't at the driveways can't, so I'm on the chair of the Southampton Town Agriculture Committee. And one thing we look at a lot is when, houses are going on farm fields. In general, there's no, there might be the rare exception, but you can't have house access across an ag reserve because then you are consuming the agricultural property. So regardless of Gary's point, if the driveway is going through the ag reserve, that would probably need to be reconsidered, at least by Southampton Towns. I don't know what village, but a site plan in general, that would raise a lot of flags if they're using the ag reserve for driveway.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, that's it. Thank you very much for listening.
Appreciate your comments. Then everyone else on Karen Crowley, please.
Yeah, it looks like there's a perfect driveway right there.
Karen, can you come up and speak and introduce yourself?
I'm on the Zoom and I'd love to have a chance to speak as well, when ready.
Okay, thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Carrie Crowley, 172 Parsonage Lane. Was he speaking about the right of way there to the road? That looks like could be the driveway instead of the looping.
There's one driveway that goes behind the house and loops around to the front of the house. So yes, that's the
But
driveway.
the colored portion to Sag Main, is that a right of way to the back of the lot? Property?
Yes, it's the flagpole.
Could that be a driveway?
That's the current ag access.
Oh, okay, well, could it be a
I
driveway?
mean, that's how we use it.
Yes. Could be a driveway? That's all I'm saying.
Thank
You're
you.
saying instead of the big loop.
Yeah, instead.
Wise.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have one driveway on your net too.
No, I don't mean that
All right, Michael Nardi. Would you like to say
Sure.
something?
Yeah, so I'm sorry I could not be there today. I do thank the community for coming out and expressing their comments. I just wanted to bring up a few points. Growing up out here, my grandparents actually lived at 118 Sag Main Street, which is a current, I believe, speculative house that's under construction. So I have a lot of fond memories of the area. And what we wanted to do originally was, build this property. But over the last 6 years or so, we were able to purchase the other properties that are on the street. And so now what we're able to do is open up 650 feet of Sag Main Street to really give more of a walking possibility for the community, especially with the renovation of the general store. And 650 feet is a real tremendous amount of frontage, and allowing the community to see these, beautiful vistas in the farm in use currently by Balsam Farms, I thought was very important. Now, to a couple points, I understand that there is a concern brought up by Henry, Mr. Weisberg, about the garage. If you look at the model on the property, this new building lot number 490 now abuts a parking lot that is tied to the general store. The general store now has parking not only on the street and to the side of the general store, but into the rear of the house that they purchased to allow for overflow traffic. So literally 10 feet off of the property line is a parking lot for the rear of the general store. And you can see this on the model that Nile and his team brought over to the presentation. So
Michael, could you put on your camera?
I do not have a camera. I'm sorry. I'm on vacation with the family.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So I'm dialing in from another country right now. I wish I could have been there.
No worries.
So there, I do want to point out that there may be an ability to, kind of reduce in the little turning area for for the garage, but there's no plan to have cars. It's really just a garage with a 3-car garage. I think the measurement is 26 feet deep by 30 feet wide, maybe. Nile has the measurements. The other thing I wanted to point out was that the entrance to the property is actually the entrance to the farm. And so what we wanted to do, because these are distinct properties, we wanted to eliminate the need for multiple curb cuts on Sag Main Street. Now, as of right, there is a curb cut in the greenish yellow for number 490. That is the flag for this driveway, and we can put a driveway there. There is also the natural entrance to the reserve, which is currently utilized by the homeowner for number 500, or I should say the occupant at this point for number 500. And there's an agreement to allow them to cross over to use that driveway. There's also a as of right curb cut for number 500, which is to the south of the Seabreeze Inn. So if there were to be fully developed properties here, you would end up with 3 distinct curb cuts right on Sag Main Street as of right. And that is for the 490 residents, that is for the Ag Reserve, and then it is also for the 500 Seabreeze Inn, which doesn't have its own curb cut, but would have one ultimately south of their property, of that property. So we're trying to eliminate that because we want to create more peace in the community, more view, more vistas to see the farm, rather than seeing 3 new driveways right on the street. And so, I just want to bring up those comments. This lot itself is 350 feet off of the street. And then, I do appreciate Ms. Foster's commentary about the birds. And, part of the consideration here was reducing the glazing as much as we could, and keeping with the original design that we're trying to, appreciate the view ourselves of this beautiful farm behind the property. So those the primarily the 25% glazing percentage, which is actually less than some of the neighboring properties on that same street and to the other side of the reserve. So we're actually using less glazing. It was mainly to be able to view your property from inside the home, but to view the reserve from the rear of the property. So we're mindful of the community comments, and I do appreciate them. And I'll let Nile take over anything from here. But thank you again, everybody, for your comments, and they are appreciated.
Thank you, Michael. Is there anyone else on Zoom that would like to speak? Yes. Okay. Nile, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I think Michael covered the responses. Just one minor thing. Mr. Whiteberg mentioned that there's no portion of the house that looks at the garage. It's untrue. The southern elevation, it's actually Michael's own office that overlooks the garage. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to speak? I appreciate you all being here and your comments mean a lot to the board. Alexandra or Emily, do you have anything you would like to comment on?
I think we had a lot of great comments, and I agree with everything everybody said. Reducing the glazing is definitely going to move the needle to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Is there a north, south, east, or west that you're particularly?
The front and the back. The front of the house and the back. And
the house is 18.2 right now. Does that include the garage as well?
No.
Because there are no windows in the garage.
No.
The west glazing is 25%. I'm having trouble with that percentage and how it actually looks and feels from the drawings. Your calculations include the side.
The alcove, remember we talked about it, it's actually the entire perimeter of the building. And the more we reduce, so we've reduced a fair number of glazing units in that alcove, but also in the front, primary bedroom, dining.
And the back of the house and the front where you have the pop out, everything is a wraparound window. So that is adding a lot more to it as well. Everything is wrap.
Yeah, and there's actually, a design quotient to that. As you can tell from the siding of the house, the Ahrb is not just due on one side of the elevation, it's actually on a corner. So the view is actually the corner, and therefore it's open on the corner. Does that make sense?
It does. I understand why you want it. What I'm saying is it's floor to ceiling windows. And it's wrapping around. So the whole house, that whole section is just glass. And I'm just not the pop out on the front of the house.
The stair, you mean?
I'm just not, it doesn't look right to me. It looks odd, especially in a historic district. Behind this beautiful historic home, it's not meshing. And I'm also curious, what is the material of the chimney?
That's stone.
What type of stone?
I believe it was a fieldstone or Connecticut fieldstone. That's the same stone we had in the lower level of the building that we removed completely. So that stone remains. Connecticut, it's grayish.
I'd like to see samples of that when you come. I'm still not getting the full picture. I mean, I can see it here of what you have behind you. You say that there's a pool house, but we don't see a pool house anywhere. I can see it over here. I'm not seeing it here.
It's literally a pergola with a small enclosed section. And it is between the southern elevation and the view, so we didn't want to have the pool house block that elevation. You're literally in the pool house looking at the house in that view. So if you want,
You're in the pool house.
You're right, looking at that view.
Could we get images of that and the garage? I know that it doesn't have any windows, but I'd still like to see what everything looks like. You had also mentioned design detail on the house, and I did notice, can't see it on here, but the vertical, the contrast, I would like to just know a little bit more about that and where that is in here.
Sure. It's really hard because the tonality is very subtle. It's still wood. So if you go to the mock-up, you can see what I mean. It's the last sheet. So in this particular version, you have the vertical board at the bottom, but the trim I'm talking about represented in this mock-up. It's the vertical, which is all the columns and all the trim work, and the horizontal.
But where is that on the house? I don't
So
see.
if you go to page 15, I think, it's the north elevation. You can see it most clearly in the north elevation. Right here. Can you see the slightly grayish tone in this view? Unfortunately, the prints are a little harder to tell. Sure.
And where are you having the vertical? So you
Right
showed,
here. That's a vertical. That's a vertical.
so there's no vertical other than those pieces. It's not, you're not doing vertical on the bottom.
Removed all the verticals. There's only shingle and trim.
And you had mentioned that the garage, Nari had mentioned that the garage is actually a three-car garage, but this shows a two-door garage.
It should be 3 doors.
So it is a
We will put
3-door.
that, yes.
And what is the garage material?
Also shingle.
Okay. And that is shingle, vertical, what are you, how?
It'll be shingles all around, and then the actual garage door will be this horizontal board.
Okay, I'd like to see how that looks
Sure.
as well. Yeah. I did want to ask you on the back of the house, is this a garage that's next, a door that's next to the,
Could we look at the view, a couple of sheets prior this one?
is P13-1? Is that a door next to the living room?
Yes, that's the stairway leads to the door that leads into the courtyard.
Okay. And then to the left of the living room in that alcove, is that there's a door that comes out from the
Yes.
living room, and then there's a window?
There's a door, then there's the fireplace, and then it's blank.
And this right here this is a window or
This is
another
a
door?
This is a door. The stairs behind you come down
Okay.
from the stairs, you open the door to access the courtyard.
And this is another door,
This is
correct?
another door from the living room to access the
Okay,
courtyard.
and that's a door as well?
Yes. Yes.
No windows, just a flat door?
Just a black door. Yep.
We might have another member of the public that's on Zoom that would like to speak. Mr. Gans?
Hi, I think you're inviting me to speak, is that correct? I just wanted to make sure I understood.
I don't know if you can speak.
I just wanted,
Is not available?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Gans is not available?
No, unfortunately, he had to leave, but we've discussed our thoughts on it together, if I can share them.
Well, I'm not sure. Let me just check with Brody.
Okay.
Irina is a member of the board as well as the resident secretary. I'm going to confirm that she can speak.
Oh,
While we find that out, Nile, the glass commentary from the public about the birds is important. And I know that there are specific glass you can use.
Yes.
Coating.
We're aware of that, yes. The fitted glass, yes.
Okay, is that something you're
Absolutely.
planning on?
That,
Oh, okay, well, that's excellent.
Irina, you're gonna identify yourself as a resident and yes, you'll be able to speak. And give your street address and such, please.
My name is Irina Tolstoy. My house is at 640 Sag Main, and I guess I'm speaking in my capacity both as a resident and an alternate member of the Architectural Review Board.
You cannot speak then as a member of the board.
I just wanted to identify myself, so that it was clear that I do perform that role, but I don't want to muddy the water, sorry.
What do we do?
Thank you. Please continue as a resident.
Thank you. I just wanted to express my concern with the light pollution. I agree with the earlier comment that architectural renderings very rarely convey the reality. And I think I know that simply from driving between my house down to the south end of Sag Main, where there are a number of houses that are often illuminated even when the residents aren't home, and it's very, very bright. I think I speak both, it's not just an aesthetic concern, it's also an environmental concern. And I don't know, although I deeply respect all of the efforts that Mr. Nardi and his team have made to integrate the structure into the agrarian nature of, the town. I do believe that the amount of glazing on the house just does not really fulfill that mission. From a perspective of the street side view, I feel that the house, although it borrows from agrarian vernacular, no question, it remains a structure that does not fully blend into this perhaps what I would consider the core of the village, where the houses are notably small in stature, the original houses anyway. And this may be reminiscent of a barn, but there's no hiding what it really is, which is a very large contemporary house. And perhaps there's some way to change the entrance so that it's a little less windowed. And those lean-to sheds, I think someone else commented on it. I don't think they would ever exist in that location on the building, in a structure that has always been there. I'm concerned. It's very, very visible from the street. That's what I want to say. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Irina. I would actually agree that the visual mass and the width of the house is not compatible with what is in the corridor, the star corridor at all. I think that the design is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. You are very talented. I think this home doesn't, the way that it is designed now does not fit in the area. It's not in like in kind of what's around it at all. And I think that it does give the agricultural barn feeling, but it is clearly a home. And the homes in the area are charming, and they have smaller windows, and they're historic. And this doesn't give any of that feeling at all. So I am also concerned about the windows and the light emissions. When I think about the percentages, you're right in the zone of what I think should be okay. However, when I look at it, that is a large mass of glass. And birds aside, because you're planning to use the bird glass coating, the light emission is bad, and it just isn't historic to group the windows like that. So that is my comment. And then I think I have I want to clarify one other thing about the flag lot. Can somebody please tell me if it's excluded from the historic district? Because on the historic district map, we can look at that. It is yellow. That plot of land is yellow. It's considered part of the historic district.
It's in this.
Okay, so I think the flag lot comment is not.
I don't think that's true. Should I,
Maybe just want to clarify that. That's what I was trying to do.
The planning document definitely has bad enough to describe the flag lots.
And by planning document, what do you mean?
A 2002, I believe it's on your website. Historic, from the exact knowledge. I can send you that.
I have it here, if you want.
Does somebody have the text of the?
I have the text here. I actually have the report here that when they did the analysis for the village of Sagaponack, and quote, these so-called flag lots named for the distinctive shapes are excluded from the district. The district boundary follows the public right-of-way where such rearward lots access the public roads. Remaining agricultural lands that have not been subdivided are included within the nominated district as exemplary of the historic rural setting of the hamlet and as evocative and agricultural development pattern of the region. I don't think we're necessarily questioning the designation, but when the study was done for Sagaponic, they considered and excluded flag lots from what were considered within the historic corridor. This lot certainly is set back, it's behind a historic structure, but I think the applicant has clearly showed deference here to the process, respects the community. We're here as a discussion item, may, taking considerable strides to involve in the community, but that is where that language came from. There's no intent to deceive or suggestion now within the historic, but there is clear intent to exclude flag lots, given their setback nature. And a lot of the comments regarding garages, if you look at those lots, they're narrow lots. You couldn't easily fit a garage next to a house on those lots. The only way to have a garage would be behind the house, given the narrow, long shape of the properties. This garage certainly is set back behind the house. It's behind another home. I understand the comments about street facing, but again, it's over 300 feet from the road, setback. Oh, that's a fair distinction. But I'm happy to submit this for the record, though.
You guys continue? Because we were not here to take notes. No, that's all right. So can you repeat what you said, please?
I just simply read the highlighted language here. And I just made comments about how our garage is set back off the road. This is a flag lot.
Sorry, you agree the house, the garage is in front of the house.
I don't agree, actually, respectfully. It's set back behind the point of the house. It's further back from the house distance-wise. But
From the main house.
the doors are facing the street. I don't argue with that comment. I just say that the garage is in front of the house. I don't agree with that comment with the way the house is situated and just distance from the street. I don't think that's a fair statement.
The garage is closer to the street than the house.
No, it isn't. It's actually not. You can come look right here.
Yeah,
We can get a tape measure, we can measure it. I don't. It's facing the street facing. I respect that comment, but it's not in front of the house.
If you look at the.
Hey, Henry, you cannot argue. Okay, major points.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna go on record and say that we had some comments from the memorandum from the National Register of Historic Places addressing the flag lot question, and we're going to submit a memorandum to support that. We'll share with you, but for this board concerning this and your.
And just to be clear, we're not suggesting this is not within the historic district. Which is
I
simply,
understand, but this is what you're saying
Yes.
is applicable, so we'll submit a memorandum for the board's discussion.
I think it does distinguish this lot from the road fronting lot, so allowing some discretion here, and you all are improving this.
Certainly does, and I just wanted to make sure we
Thank you.
went back to touch on that.
Underscore that, yeah.
But I do think, Michael Nardi's intention to open it up so that the community could enjoy the views, which is the best thing we can all do for Sagaponic, opens then this house up to the street. Okay.
Well, I mean, I would like to open up the view corridors for the community. I'm not required to. And I don't think that there should be a penalty on a family home that we're trying to build for, a normal local family. We should be put into a box where you're going to open it up to the community so they can see. But because you're doing that, you can't have something that is, designed relative to the area. It's kind of like, why don't I just put up a hedge? Because if you drive up and down Sag Main Street, a lot of the houses that Mr. Weisberg mentioned have massive hedging in front of them. I'm going the opposite route, but I shouldn't be penalized to do that. I could easily just do hedging and leave it as is. I prefer not, because I think aesthetically we have the possibility here to have 650 feet of Sag Main frontage that hasn't existed in that style for 40 years. So, that's what I'm trying to accomplish, but we also shouldn't be penalized for that.
I think we're definitely not trying to penalize you. The goal is to try and make it look and feel like the rest of the homes that are nearby, which at this point I do not think that we're there yet. So
just to point out, having just underscored what we just talked about, there's a rationale why this home doesn't do that. and to have a monoculture on the street is also not ideal. There is a historic component to this house which references an agrarian aesthetic. The other homes reference other stylistic historical references. So just because it doesn't look the same doesn't mean it is not necessarily historic.
That's a conundrum.
Is there anyone else that you'd like to comment? Okay.
Well, I would like to thank everyone for coming out. I know it's a holiday week. Everyone's trying to enjoy that time, so I really thank you guys
Could you
for.
speak up?
Just want to thank everyone who's here via Zoom or in person. The committee really appreciates your feedback. I think a lot of the comments that you guys raised were comments that we had as well. Obviously, I know there's been a ton of progress towards, revisions and all, and you guys are very talented. This is a stunning home. I think the consensus seems to be across the board that there still is a lot of room for improvement, whether it be, the fact that it is a flag lot, yes, absolutely. But at the end of the day, this is still a very visible home in the heart of a very, I think profound and historic community. I think this is an iconic home and will be certainly amongst many iconic homes on our main street. That is something that we are taking into account because it will be visible for many years to come.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Okay, well, I would like to adjourn this hearing to the January 26th meeting.
Second.
Leaving the hearing open?
Leaving the hearing open.
Happy holidays.
Can you leave that here so I can take some of you one?
Can we give you a picture?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll just send it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want the motion section?
Emily, second. All in favor? Aye. Gosh. Is there a way that Emily can take a quick look at it before
I just
you
wanted
take it
to
away?
take a closer look at it before you left.
house is there too, to that point. I would never do that.
Right.
I could love you so much. There's always a movie.
Yes, well, this should be 3 doors here.
Yeah.
And then you want a view of this side from here, right?
I want to see, what everything, because you take a picture here and you're not seeing what everything is, just so we have it on the record.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to see it from the other angle real quick. Are you taking pictures of it? Okay.
I think this is hand. Also additional.
Yeah.
Just get back. Thanks, guys.
And this right here, there's a door or that? What is it?
That's a door to
Okay.
access the house, yeah.
The door in the garage.
Yes.
Thank you. This is extremely helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, all the best. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Okay. I'll move on to, regular meeting. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 24th meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Moving on to 99 Farmview.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Bennett, Bennett Reed, 212 Windmill Lane, Southampton, New York.
The applicant, John Hamilton from Ahrb Design, is with me, also Josh Rosenzweig and David Griffin, the project architects from Boston, Patterson, and Diston. Just a couple of bullet points, and then get to the important part, or most important.
Speak up, John.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm so shy.
Go ahead, speak up, I wanna be able to hear you.
We'll get to the important part, most important part, which is a presentation by the design team. Just a couple of things. We're not in a historic district. We're not on a main street of travel. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to, look at this. Just reminding you, as you all know, that there's a different level of review. And that's important because it's not going to have any impact on any sort of historic corridor. I think it would be helpful if it had the tax map and attached to the tax map. Hopefully, my team put it together as an area to show you a couple of things. If I had it, probably just to narrow these down. This site is down on Farm View. It's 1, 2, 3. There are 3 lots between it and Sagaponack, Maine, number 1. It's in what it's fair to describe as a semi-rural area because you're in for lack of better description, it is what it is. It's a quasi suburban subdivision. That's what it is. Not surround. Obviously, this subdivision is not that old relative to the age of Sagaponack, so it's not surrounded by historic homes. And again, that doesn't mean that somehow you don't have to, use your best judgment, but it does have a different level of scrutiny, and that's important. I think it's very important. We did listen very intently at the last meeting. I think that it was clear to say, and as Josh said, the board was happy with the forms and the materials, was concerned about the glazing, so really, really pushed the client hard on this. And the glazing has dropped from 35% overall to 29.6%. Hopefully you'll agree with us, particularly in terms of the setting and the actual arrangement of the fenestration, which I find incredibly attractive. That'll be enough. Talk about glazing, but if not, I do have some comparative glazing on some other properties, particularly 416 Hedges. I don't want to bore you with that if it's not going to be an issue, so I'll just hold off on that and let the design team present. But again, I think it's really important we took apart everything that you said, and hopefully you'll agree that we've come up with something that's responsive in all aspects to your feelings. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Hi, everybody. Jeff Rosenzweig, Principal and also Patterson Architects. David Griffin with me as well. John Hamilton, Ahrb Design. I just wanted to thank everybody for being here. Some of you I don't remember seeing from the last hearing, and some of you are not here today. But we really enjoyed our last presentation with you all. We went through the design elements of the house, exterior elevations, exterior materials. Had a very thoughtful discussion with the board members about synergy. The idea of the balance of the architectural vocabulary coming together in a cohesive fashion. And I took that to heart because at the end of the day, it's been my business for many years, 25 plus, designing homes for wonderful villages. My office is in Ahrb, New York. It's not Sagaponack, but we share a similar affinity for our architecture and the streetscapes of our village. So I took it to heart. Sat down with our clients, came up with some thoughtful ideas to share with you all today. I mean, the culmination of our last meeting, I think, and again, for some of the board members who weren't here, if we can just hold up the material palette.
Yeah, and this is in a handout we'll give you guys again.
And I bring that up only because we did bring all of the materials in a suitcase. We didn't bring them this time, it is Christmas, but we didn't bring it. But we took pictures of it. And I think the overarching concept was that it was about silver tones and muted tone that would all come together in a cohesive way. I believe the board, I will never put words in the board's mouth. We left the meeting at the last time all agreeing that the material palette was very reasonable for what we were trying to accomplish. There were no major questions about any severity or other ideas about the material palette. Number two, I think that based on the architectural language, which in a moment after John gets up to talk a little bit about the landscape, David and I are going to present everything that has changed from the last presentation to this presentation. So I'm not going there just yet, but I think we all agree, the board members in our conversation, that forms of the vocabulary, which are influenced by shingle style cottage design architecture, were very acceptable. But how those forms come together and some of the more modern elements that were breaking them up was a bit of a pause, or created a bit of a pause in some of the board members. That's what we're going to speak about today, because that's where we put in the most amount of effort in changing the architecture, not just on the outside, but also informing some plan changes in order to carry the day on how the outside synergy is. So we're going to go through that. But first, I know John wants to say a few things just about the overall nature of the plan.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, John.
Good afternoon, everyone. John Hamilton, Principal of our Design Group. We're the landscape architects of the project. Only here for one today, not instead of a couple applications. So I think we'll move through this pretty quickly. I'll just do a quick recap of the screening on this property. As Mr. Bennett said, I think the context is very important of this neighborhood. Obviously, Sagaponack is rural. This neighborhood, though, is more suburban in its feel and nature and the language of the landscape throughout the street. So just starting on the west side, both of the neighbor along the side has very dense evergreen screening, mature canopy trees, all of that on their side of the boundary. We're going to be placing a new hedge in addition to that. So this is really a dual side screen that's on the west side of the property when you approach from Farmview Drive. The existing driveway cut goes away. So that was very revealing as you come down to Farmview. You immediately see a house that goes away, and screening large evergreens, a new hedge is added throughout this border here. So that actually takes away a lot of structure that someone would see just processing down Farmview Drive to the east. The new driveway cut shifts further to the east in a very inconspicuous, more casual arrival to the property here. There's large existing evergreens in that location already that will be transplanted and added to provide screening. The corner is heavily screened at Farmview Drive and Farm Court. That is all to remain. We're not touching that. There's an existing hedge on Farm Court, evergreen, 8 to 10 feet. And then there's going to be layers of evergreens and deciduous trees placed just inboard that. And then the south side here, the neighbor to the south has a very large 12 to 14 foot tall privet hedge. We're adding our own, and that kind of covers the entirety of that border there. So that's the four sides of this property in terms of privacy, both for our clients, but also to create something for them to look into. They don't want to see the street either. They want to create a beautiful foreground and landscape inside this property. So that's just the context of the screening that exists and will be added to the parcel.
Thank you, John. I think that's and I'd like to carry back to really focusing right now on the changes that we made from the last presentation. If it's okay, I'd like to hold up some boards that we curated here.
And then we have hard copy.
Just in case, some hard copy. And again, these are no different than the content you have, but they compare each elevation from the previous round of review.
This is previous?
Yeah, previous and today, and everything is filed with you, the content. This just puts one against the other.
I don't have that.
Yeah, it's gonna be emailed.
But it's important, we're not giving you anything new.
We're not giving you anything new. We just thought for presentation purposes.
Did you email this to me?
Not yet, but we blew it up. It's just kind
Yeah,
of,
so-
we blew up what we have. We
No, I
already have it
understand,
in there.
Yeah, it's just presentation material. It's the same content. It's just we put north elevation against north elevation, south elevation against. That's what you're seeing. We just happen to put these against the ones from the previous hearing.
Okay, sorry. It just helps to see the changes. That's
Yes,
that's all.
There's nothing new.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing's new. We just want to help the board see
Yes.
what
When I
we've
say
done.
nothing new, it was new from the last one.
Well, I usually
There's
bring
nothing-
the
there's
last
nothing new
one,
from
so
the
I can't, so
submissions.
this next to be safe.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, can I just
Okay.
clarify something in the landscape really quickly?
Oh, sure.
Is
Yeah,
this,
sure.
this is privet hedge that's not there?
This is an evergreen hedge that is here now.
Okay, but it's not privet.
No, it's evergreen.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe it's a leyland cypress hedge, 8 to 10 feet.
Yeah, it is. There, picture of it. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. All right, please continue.
So from, again, the proposal will be on top, the existing is on the bottom. And one of the things that we really wanted to focus on, I think three major categories, one being glazing, absolutely. Luckily, in this particular, the iterations of the plans that we've come up with, a lot of the things that we did to bridge the gap between the architectural vocabularies also helped us reduce the glazing. So I think if I can prioritize what our execution was, it was going after architectural synergy, and then what was our result in net loss of glass. So I think that's a pure way of thinking about it. Number two, a lot of the vertical battens that we all saw in the previous version, which were sort of borderlining a more contemporary fashion of creating a brise soleil on the glass. I believe one of the comments was about the simplicity sometimes about having just a window placed in a thoughtful location, then trying to hide it behind sort of a veil. And I agree with that. I actually think where we came today is better than where we started before the board made their comments. And I do truly believe that. So if we look at this, let's start with some of the main gables. There's now an idea that both main gables before, with more of the cagey vertical battens and the asymmetrical geometry between this gable presence here, has now created a little bit more of a symmetrical and balanced elevation and the thoughtful window placement without having it covered by the actual vertical battens. This does two things. In doing this, we've actually removed two other windows that were tethered to this one on the dining room side of the house, which actually created the balance that we were looking for. And in this particular location, by creating a little bit more of a cohesive facade that carried the nice line of the gable forward, we placed the central window, two smaller windows here. We actually reduced the net glazing as well as it turns the corner. And now we struck a balance, I think, with those two anchors of the building facade.
And we've also overhung the triangular volume, so it gives a little bit more character and shadow to that form.
And one of the big, let's go to the smaller one first before we get to the bid, was the garage off to the side. We reduced the glass and also a thoughtful window instead of the vertical battens to create that very nice siding and separation. But the major moment here, which is going to carry itself around the entire rear elevation, was the added columnation in what we called sort of the Edwin Lutyens style window and staircase moment. Creating this columnation now, in my opinion, if you look at this existing elevation, this was sort of a modern departure from bringing the house together. So we added some roof line on top of this elevation here to create a little bit more synergy, added the columns, allowed us to actually have sort of a tie between both sides. And that was one of the major things.
Yeah, so these overhangs, there was a little bit of a criticism that they were too harsh. So we've softened them up and given them a swoop form. You know, it really ties into the historic cottage style that we're hoping the house imbues.
And as a result of that, and again, as we look through each elevation, the reduction of 35% to 29% of glazing, so much of it now is in the well-balanced proportion of these actual glass fenestrations. We've also played around with some of the divides, and as an overarching thought, we've reduced the sizes of most of our windows and doors in the house. In some cases, this is a reduction of so much glazing as you can see here. In other cases, small reductions. And as David said, to sort of create a more gentle elevation sweep, we also took the flat roof dormer that was here, we gave it also a slight of a pitch here.
And here's the rendered view of that too.
As the board asked us to sort of take the trees in the foreground out of the context. Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. Before I move on to other elevations, does the board understand where we?
Yeah, I think it's major improvements in terms of synergizing the whole thing. I agree.
And let's keep going. We can always come back, but let's keep going on to other elevations.
Turn that around, Josh. That is the side from the way you enter in. It's the east.
So in the east elevation, and you're getting a little bit of a look in a garage that's much further back towards the property, but this is an elevation in perspective. More looks like the picture by David's left hand right there. Once again, the actual sweeping of the dormers, the cohesive sort of creation of less of the vertical battens to distort the more traditional forms that we have here, carrying over those themes. And when you see the rear elevation, there's that more columnation. Before we came back today, we had many glazed corners in this house. We now have almost none. That was part of adding the columnation. You can't just do it in one elevation. You have to take the theme of the house around, bring it together, close the sentence. So really, we've reduced.
I think it made the house more traditional in a sense. There's, a lot more traditional aspects to it now than before.
The rear elevation, which does have the most amount of glazing if you compare it throughout the project. However, it's important to note one more thing too. And I think we should pull up the slide of the plan on page. Can we keep going? Can we go back a few slides, please?
You're off.
No, perfect. One more. Back. One more back. Right there, thank you. Just one thing to note, if you look at the rear elevation, the glass that you see in actual the orthographic elevation here is set back about 35 feet from the front facade of this building. And over 20% of the glazing is set back 15, and in some cases 8 feet from the actual eave of the house, meaning it's a screened porch area, the glass is set back, and it's just important to note. You can't quite appreciate that from just a pure exterior elevation. It's a small point, but I wanted to make it.
If I may, what's been really very heartening about this and the way the design team has responded is typically what you'll see is people just make the windows smaller. That's not what happened here. It's a redesign that picks up the more traditional forms. And I think it's important. It's hard work, and it responds to both of the concerns, both to push the building towards a more traditional form as well as to
all these
bring the blade
columns.
Yeah, no, I think they understand that.
Yeah, no, but
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's okay.
It's not just make the windows one.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And everything inside is affected and.
So on this exterior elevation, you now see the columnation continuing down. Now that structure is about 50 feet behind the eave of that structure. However, the language continues through the living room procession. And I actually think that's a better architectural look in my opinion. Proportions of glass to the human experience looking outside your home at the wonderful gardens is important, but this overall helps bring it all together.
No, this middle portion here is the same as this, right? This
No, that's not the other one. No, that's the living room right there, and that's sort of the kitchen area right there. Yeah, this is different.
So the middle section comes out, is that what you're saying?
This section is out.
And this is all glass?
This right here is set back. This is the kitchen. This opens up the kitchen to the porch so that it's one space. These pocket against each other. These are set back 16 feet from that experience. It's the columnation. It's the ones with the columns that are forward in the elevation.
Yes. So the area with the columns there is the living room.
It's just
in the middle.
This area here with the columnation is the living room. These are set back 16 feet to open up the kitchen so the kitchen can spill into the screen porch area.
Right. It's just hard to tell with what we're looking at.
Elevations, perspectives.
And this is a tiny picture.
We have a larger shot for you right here.
Floor plan.
Let me pull this.
I have a floor plan here.
Does that help you? Josh?
It's the floor below.
This is the back.
Yeah, John, I think the floor plan.
The previous one here.
Right there. You see the floor plan there?
So that's this.
So the porch, you can just draw a red right by that porch. And then, yep, that's set all the way back. That's between the kitchen and the screen porch, so that becomes one large sort of kitchen.
And do you have a picture of this side of the house, like looking that way, so we can see what that looks like, how it comes out?
I do think a 3D model would be helpful here.
We have 3D perspectives as well.
Next shot. David, can you get to that? With the 3D perspective.
It's on the board. Let's please go to.
Well, these are the four views of the four sides.
We also have the existing renderings that were redone from the rear. The existing renderings from the last presentation with the trees. We have it here. Yep, you have
So
those.
this right here, is that, let me just see.
Yeah.
This is just.
Yeah. Yes, that is this rendering.
Okay, and so, those colors look the same.
Yes.
Where is this?
That is set in the distance, all the way in the back of the garages, all the way on the other side of the floor plan.
So you
Right here.
can't see it.
See this here?
Yeah.
So you're standing right here?
So you can't see this.
No, but
Okay,
it's in the
yeah.
drawing, you can see it in the drawing.
Yeah, okay. Is it me or are you having a hard time understanding?
Yeah, the drawings are, these 3D renderings are, they
Very
feel
exciting.
flat, they
Yeah.
feel, it's difficult to tell. The 3D model that we just saw with the 490 segment is extremely helpful.
Take another shot at it with using the floor plans and the renderings and the elevations.
So if you're staring at the west elevation here on screen, you're seeing the garage in the foreground. But if you're looking at this elevation on number 6, the east elevation, the garage is 80 feet away.
Can you zoom in to the front of the house? You can see the front of the back.
Top left, yeah.
The top left. Yeah, that's
A full 3D model of the house. The garage is set here, so when you're looking at an exterior elevation from this side, this is almost 70 feet away. It's hard to see it, but this is a full 3D photorealistic model of the house as it would appear. Garage, entry procession, the new
Site plan.
combination.
Where's the site plan?
No, I get it.
Yeah, no, I just thought that would be helpful. The site plan.
Oh, there was also one other thing we did as well. We also tapered some of the finished chimneys as well, just to create a little bit more of a gentle approach. Also trying to get away from some of the more modern elements that you saw in the first presentation that we worked so hard to correct from the last presentation in November.
All right, and there are no shingles on the house at all, other than the roof.
Other than the roof, yes, but everything of the material palette that will silver out in the yellow cedar shingles as opposed to a red. And I know you didn't get a chance.
On the windows.
It is this color right here, which is just a sort of dark bronze. And this was actually a sample we brought in to show how all this would color to that finished material, which was natural.
It would be nice to see the renderings with the color. And I feel like a lot of it is faded. You can't really tell what it actually is. I can see the shape of the house. I get the idea. But to get the true feel of all the different materials that you're using and a true color of what that is and how it looks on the house. Other than that, obviously, that's a lot of glass, and that one, I mean, that's.
Yeah, no, that's why we brought all these materials in the last time, so we can see it all together.
I would actually like to see it in the renderings so that I can look at it.
These are rendered.
So those are true colors.
This is true
of
color.
everything.
This is the true color. That we would never render it as what it may not be. This is going to be exactly how it looks. 100% photorealistic.
That is faded. That is faded. That the materials are applied and then faded.
Yellow cedar loses its color in less than 6 months.
Of course.
And this is the final color. We are not putting any bleaches. We are not putting on any color paint on the cedar material. We're letting it naturally dye. This is actually a sample of a board that was ripped off of a house for the presentation and replaced that had about 8 months of sun on it. And there is no, just a natural cedar color.
So these views right here on P9, this is really the gist of what I'm trying to get of what I can see, is that angle of what the roof line looks like from the side. So I can see this, and you can kind of see it over here. So, and I can see this right here. There's a lot of trees, it's being covered up. I just want to get the true feel of everything. And it's very flat. I'm not able to see it.
9 updated renderings.
Maybe if you took
We have
pictures.
P9 updated renderings. They're in the set. So if we can go to the next page, please. Up here they are. Go back, please. Okay, so you can clearly see. So here's a perspective of the front elevation. And if we zoom in a little bit, you can see one of the architectural changes with the nice curves. Oh, yep, here we go to the left. And you'll be able to see that as well. Okay, so you can see now we've lost the vertical battens in this perspective. We now have the nice curved roof above the dining room and entry procession. The collimation, you're getting a hint of here, the new window and door configurations of the guest suite without the vertical battens. If we slide the palette over to the left, please, if we move to this image. Okay, you're starting to see the columnation now in the living room. There is the stair hall assembly in the back with the columns. Okay, we've again lost a lot of the vertical battens, so you don't see those cagey elements anymore on that elevation. Here are the kitchen windows behind the brise soleil. So that's all updated, as well as the more balanced chimney tops, which are now have a little bit of a curve on them.
It would be nice to see some of the images without the trees and maybe a full-size image instead of it being on a television or this, so that we don't have to zoom into it, that we can just get a look at it.
Absolutely.
I mean, are y'all having a hard time seeing this?
It's just,
These new renderings are without the
Right.
trees.
I feel like they're taken from afar. I'm not seeing the true slope of the house. I understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is the renderings that we're used to seeing, that we are used to seeing, give us much more of an idea of the house. Yes, I see the site plan. I know where it is. I want to have the feeling of the roof. I want to have a feeling of the slope. I want to have a feeling of where the placement is, and I'm not getting it from that.
It's just at the last meeting, I know you've asked for exact front, side,
We do,
pure
and this is
perspective
great. This is great. It's
renderings.
just a lot of lawn and a lot of pool and a lot of.
It's hard to get the whole house in the frame because it is long, east to west.
And the only way to truly show it is to do it that way. Otherwise, you're giving just a close up, trying to put it in with the the sense of place there.
And because of there is a lot of glass, and you have this glass section that comes out, I am just not able to get a feel of where that is. I know it's right there, but I can't.
This section here.
Yes.
This is under the roof. It doesn't come out, it just comes out further than that glass.
But it's all glass.
It's got the columns that we added, the columnation.
It's glass on this face, and it only turns the corner a little bit. It's not.
Okay.
This is the south facing at 44%.
Okay.
Just for the heck of it, if I may, we've been very kept our eye on the ball, because we know that your board is going to be concerned about ratios of glass. So, I have a house raised for 16 hedges, and it's a purely modern house, no setbacks. The glass is right there, and it was approved a couple of years ago at 33%. So I just, in terms of us not doing anything, trying to stay within the comfort zone, very serious about
Comfort
that.
zone is not 44.
It's 33.
This is 44 south.
No, so from an overall point of view.
29% reduction from 35. I mean, we
You
certainly.
guys can start at 99 and go
Yeah.
down to 70 and think that's a lot.
No, I'm saying 29% overall. Does the reduction in glass seem like a reasonable cut from where we were at the last
I mean, it was a
presentation?
great improvement, but we're not there.
Okay, so for example, on Blaze's house, one of the elevations was 53%. And again, this was, I think you have to take this into account in terms of this is not a house that's on Sag Main or one of the historic streets. I don't find, and of course you look at all the other standards, there's nothing, excessively similar or jarringly dissimilar about this house into what is essentially, subdivision that was approved in the 80s and is populated by suburban homes.
Can you please pull up is there a way to pull up 416 hedges, like a Google map?
What were you looking for?
Because you're presenting 416 hedges.
Yes.
So I just want to look at that in real life and where that is on the map.
It's between Daniels and Boston, I think. Yeah. Sure.
I know where it is.
Oh.
Where the house is on. Is it on the street?
No, it's not on the street. It's similar like this, yeah.
That matters.
Well, it does. That's why one of the first things I presented was where this was in relation. It's just 4 lots back.
This is not, well, this is on the corner.
Well, it's not, it's in relation to Sag Sag Main, it's 4 lots back. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, this is on the corner. Yep.
In the moments of being pulled up, obviously the main concern that was raised today was the effect of birds. Do you guys plan on using glazing on the glass as well?
It's about a reduction of glass, right, for birds.
Oh, there isn't.
Are you putting a special glazing on all glass in all projects? Or just
That was just
asking,
an inquiry, if that was something you guys were planning on doing.
what was the type of glazing you were talking about?
There was a glazing mentioned today, that 490 hedges, that large presentation that had the hearing.
Such a
There's a coating you can put on your glass.
Yeah,
Oh,
low emission glass.
I'm sorry?
Low emission.
Oh, we have low emission glass already,
But there's
yes.
also, you could add the coating, like Megan was saying, that will reduce the emission less.
We have, this is actually European glass that has one of the lowest E emissions out there. It's not a standard cardinal glass or a low E366 or a 296. So it already does have that, but we'd be happy to look into further protecting absolutely 100%.
So, but what's the emission figure on the glass you're using?
I'd have to provide that.
I'll get to this.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any way for you, Pat, to give me the spec that the other client, I'm just curious to learn about what they offer here today. It didn't seem like we had too much specifics on it.
I'll have to get that.
So it's real as opposed to just.
Are you able to find that?
That's all.
Oh, is your cursor on it?
Mm-hmm.
Cursor's on open space. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because the Google map is not reflecting
Oh.
the new home that was built.
On all that open space. Looks like so the new home is on this farm field. Is that right? No, I'm just,
Yeah, it's behind, I think, that historic.
Do you have Google at the front? You can usually navigate with that for after. Yeah, the regular Google Earth is frustratingly.
Yeah, and this frustrating,
As
isn't
a
it?
Google Earth Pro, it usually has 6 months. I think it's another $300.
That's helpful.
Does the board, do you like the more cohesive roof line connections?
I think you've made some great progress on that front.
I appreciate it.
For sure.
Thank you.
And thank you for showing the inspiration. That's also very helpful. It's beautiful.
So if the board were to give us any parting thoughts, aside from showing a few more perspective shots, without or with trees in context? Without more perspective. In fact, I may, at the next hearing, bring in a 3D model that can be worked on a QuickTime file where I can actually zoom in and out of any area I'd like to see in the house.
Yeah.
I can do that. Am I allowed to do that, Pat, with a QuickTime file?
That's okay in lieu of
Oh, no, I don't think, I think the board was asking more for 3D, not the 2D. The 2D model, it could even be even harder to understand because our perspective doesn't really balance. So, yeah. But I thank you for your comments. I really feel proud of the updates that we made to this house from where it was. And I hope you agree that it's certainly a step in the right direction.
Well, I do want to echo again what was said before, and what I even said. This was not just to go back and make the smaller. This is a real redesign.
Question for you, one more question before I ask if there's additional thoughts. The balance of the glazing on the rear elevation, considering what John Hamilton from LaGuardia Design has talked about of the privacy nature of this particular lot, and knowing that most of that glazing is also recessed behind a porch anywhere from 14 to 16 feet, what kind of additional cut would the board really think is necessary there on a non-street facing elevation for, a client's rear yard?
Under 30.
Under 30. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Any other design comments?
We close?
Getting closer, I think there's a couple of different window designs here on the back. So this is clear plane, this is one square style that's which is nice, and then there's this different gauge pane. So getting 1, 2, 3, 4 different styles of windows. They're close enough.
No, I
I
want
think.
to. I just want to sign your comment. Yeah. There you go. So yeah, this is more about a partition wall. The intent is this further to pocket away, which is why you don't see the collimation. This grid and this grid, they all have the same essentially width and length, so divided light grids, all of them.
Okay, we've got a square, and we've got a 6 horizontal, and then we've got vertical ones over here. And then we've got some arches here. If there are a lot of different styles of
And the-
windows that I'm saying do not match. So I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or not. I'm just noting it.
Yes, no, and is it also good to know too, just in case, because this will be less confusing with maybe the big model, is that you don't see these from any scape at all. These are lower
That's
level
fine.
entries.
Disregard that then.
The other thing though, is in the precedents, historical precedents, there was always a combination of several styles and, collections of windows. That's what made the cottage style and the country house.
I agree, but I would say here, there's 2 to 3. And I would say on yours, there's probably 5 or 6.
Well, and you're also using so many different materials. So your examples are of homes that are shingled or they're stone. It's all
Well, they combine materials.
a little bit, but this has a lot of different materials in it.
Actually stucco and wood. It's really stucco. Yeah, no, it's stucco. I hear you. It's stucco and wood though, all of the same collaborative palette, silver tones.
Stucco and wood and the roof consistent shingle. So
And the wood is the shingle and the yellow cedar planking and the stucco. It's just really 2 predominant materials to all come together at a palette.
They're all famous.
They do.
Just an opinion.
No, I'm not here to, I respect every opinion the board has. I'm just trying to fish for having it closer to.
There was a house in Darien, Connecticut that I saw that looked had that same look, but it was all shingled, and I thought that was very nice. I would kind of like to see that with this.
There's some shingles, although
I don't know if, that's gonna be bridging the gap because,
No, I understand.
our client doesn't want to see
I
that.
just saw that and I thought it was an interesting, beautiful home.
I have a home I did just like that in Quogue recently. It has more of the English cottage look.
Right.
All shingled, absolutely beautiful.
yeah, and the client came to us. We wanted, an interpretation of.
Right, and I mean, I get, you want a mix of both.
We've had, that we've had to, work
I
with.
think stucco and wood shingle is a fairly common, even in farmhouses, as someone who put 5 kids to Hampton Day School.
Sure, and we're just,
You look at
just
that
giving you our
building down there.
opinions on what our
That's
thoughts
right,
are, and
that's
maybe
stucco and
to
wood
help
shingle.
push it along.
No, thank you. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for your time. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Oh, can I just say one other thing? Sorry, I forgot to do it. In the presentation, so this is why I was asking about the privet. Okay, so stick with, this really looks like privet, and it's not, right? So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's a Leyland cypress, so it's got that kind of greener texture, but it's evergreen.
But it's not trimmed like that at all, or I don't know.
I think it's pretty tight actually out there.
I don't know.
It's looser than that?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been there since the summer. Been a little scraggly, right?
And I just don't know what the intended height is going to be generally.
Yeah. I think I'm around that 10-foot height, but it should be more of a pure look when it's being maintained properly.
Okay, there's also lighting in there. And I don't know if that's going to get covered up.
On the outside?
It's like lit underneath the
Oh, really?
cypress.
That'll all come out. Yeah, we're just doing backlights for the new property.
Okay.
No one plays.
So no, okay. Sorry.
No, good one.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn. 9 prior, yeah. All in favor?
Hi. Yes, no, I can understand half of it now. Going crazy. I mean, our man, but they was. Tony, we need to take all I don't think so. I would like to. I don't think so. But I think there were people coming back. And it ended up on less because they wanted to cut down the cost because it was getting so expensive. I think it's the same shops.
Correct. That's right.
Situation.
Feeling that, you ready?
We're ready.
Okay, we're gonna move on to new business, renovations, 99 Fairfield Common Green.
Afternoon, Board. Eric Peterson, architect, 820 Dog Lane, West Hampton Beach, New York. Representing Michael Davis Construction for Greg McBolis. I have with me today Matt Hovith from Gloria Design. As just a brief history, we have Ahrb approval and a building permit for the main house. We had that back in September. We hearing for the main house for the renovation. We had to break apart the main house and the pergola and pool house as a result of requiring planning board approval, which we received last week at the planning board hearing. So this cabana, outdoor shower, and pergola are then now part of that approved planning board site plan. So the existing house, I don't know if you have photographs, Pat, that you could pull up.
Happy.
So that's presently the house just before they started to do demolition work on some of the dormers. And obviously it's a painted shingle, and that's the painted shingle presently on the house. We are going back to a natural cedar shingle for both the roof and the siding. The windows and doors and trim are going to be white. So this pergola, although it's not 100% consistent with the style of the home, is to basically pull back from the present location of the pool house and pergola closer to the home itself, and borrow just from really the materiality, the cedar cabana, which is really just 9 by 10, and the outdoor shower, which is 6 by 8. That's really going to be kind of like framed within the Renson pergola. So as when you couple it with the plantings, that it's meant to kind of disappear. It's meant to be not as proud. And the more prominent piece would be just the open pergola. So part of the exercise too of bringing the patio back closer to the house is that it pulls the pool house or the cabana again and the pergola closer to the home, minimizing the exposure to the farm. We have, obviously, to the north, we have the conservation easement, which is wooded, and the opposite view of the cabana is facing the kind of the southern wing of the home too. So there's not really any exposure to the street or to the adjacent properties for the single door that have a privacy film on it. So again, really trying to minimize the impact on the cabana and letting it really be more about just this open pergola. So that was really the thought process behind this design.
Thank you. Anything sleek and nice.
Works for me.
Okay, thank you.
That was easy. I mean, short of any lighting, I don't see any lighting plans here.
You're correct. We may do a very limited amount of spot, not obviously any of the Renson offers all types of kind of like LED rope and firing up and all that. So this would just be if very few pointing down, spotlight directed at the patio itself. Matt can speak to ground lighting, path lighting, which would be obviously dark sky compliant. And the back privacy screen is wood slats within their kind of framed system. And that's really to kind of, again, just pick up on the cedar of the home and cedar of the outdoor shower. So the client has no interest in any other panels on other sides of this. So it's really just an open pergola. We obviously have what we need for the building permit in terms of, because it's operable, it has to be counted as coverage. So all of that math checks out as well.
Great. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. You're aware of the next stop. Yes, it's right. Okay. Yeah, Lane East was on the agenda. It is withdrawn. So I'll sign this so we can move on to the selection committee two. Okay. I'd like to make our selection committee of two for January.
I'm around.
I'm happy to join you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Megan and Emily will be committee of two. All right, our next meeting date is January 26th.
Right.
At 12. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Happy holidays.